Hello, welcome back for chapter 10.2 notes. Today we are introducing measures of central tendency, and we are going to look at three different measures of central tendency. The first is the mean, the second is the median, and the third is the mode. The words mean and average, we'll see them both, and we see them out in the real world, are often used interchangeably. The substitution of one word for the other is common practice. So we're going to talk about the arithmetic mean, where we actually calculate this with numbers. And when back in chapter 10.1, we talked about population and sample, we're going to have two different symbols for the population and sample mean. So the population mean is going to have this symbol, mu, and the sample mean is going to have this symbol, x bar, that is. It has a bar on top of it. You calculate them the same, and the calculation is taking the sum of the values together, adding them together, and dividing by the number of values. So let's look at an example. It says, find the mean dollar amount of the following purchases of 8 students total selected at random at the campus bookstore during the first week of classes. So we could add them all up and divide by 8. But I'm going to show you in Desmos how to do this with some Desmos keys. And that is on the second page of your notes. You're going to type mean and then the column that your data is in. And we're going to do the same for the median. So let's go ahead and go. I'm going to show you in Desmos how this is done. So we are looking at bookstore purchases. I put them into a table by pressing the plus button and adding a table, and I entered those up, and then I just typed the word mean, and make sure you're referencing the column that your data is in. And we got the average purchase at the bookstore was $301.75. Now, if we look at the same, do the same thing for the next example. The next example is the number of businesses filing for bankruptcy in the years of 2004 to 2008. They're given in this table. And we're looking only at the number of petitions filed for bankruptcy. So if we enter those into a table into Desmos, again, we can find the mean. And I will show you how to do that, but I'm going to just write that down here. The mean bankruptcy, the mean bankruptcy is 33,116.20. Okay. And I will show you that. And here, so if I've entered the data here, and then I just typed a mean of X2 because that's where my data is, and there is the mean bankruptcy. Now, we're going to talk about the median. The median is another measure of central tendency. It actually measures the very center value. So you can think of the median as the middle value, but it does not actually have to be one of the observed values. It is a number that separates ordered data into halves. Half the values are the same number or smaller than the median, and half the values are the same number or larger. However, if you have an even number of data values, then there is no middle value, so you must average the two middle values. So let's look at a few examples. Example 3. We're looking strictly at this set of data here in the table. There's an odd number of values, 2, 3, 5, 8, and 9. So there's 5 data values. That means the very middle one, which is 5, is the median. The second set of data, 2, 3, 8, and 9, there's an even number of values. So that means the median is the average of the 2 middle values, 3 and 8. So 3 plus 8 is 11, divided by 2 is 5.5 is the median. Now let's look at the next example. We're going to put these in Desmos. So it says find the median for the given heights in inches. So in Desmos, I'm going to show you, I put the heights for A into X3 and the heights for B into Y3. And you're going to see those. And then we're going to go back and label the median for each. And so I will show you those in Desmos. So I put my data in here and I put the median of X3 is 69 and the median of Y3 is 68. And you can see that Y3 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 values. So 68 was the very middle value. X3 had an even number, and so 69 is the average of the 2 middle values. So let's look at the third measure of central tendency. The third measure of central tendency is called the mode. The mode is the most frequent value. So if we look at example 5, it says 19 people were asked how many miles to the nearest mile they commute to work each day. The data are as follows. To find the mode, we have to tally up how many of each data value we have. So if we look here, I listed each of the data values and I tallied how many there were. So it looks like 5 and 10 both had 3 occurrences. So we're going to say that the mode is bimodal because there's 2, and those modes are 5 and 10. Now, example 6 says find the mode of each of the given data set. So highway miles per gallon of an automobile, if we listed these and looked, we would see that 25 is the mode. Because it happens the most number of times, it happens 3 occurrences. Part B says, find the mode for the price paid for the last haircut or styling. So if we looked here, 0, 0, and 0, and then also 35, 35, and 35. So they each have 3 occurrences, so it's bimodal. So we have 0 and 35. And letter C says, find the mode for the class enrollment in 6 sections of calculus. So it looks like they each only have 1 occurrence, so there is no mode. Okay. Next up, we are going to look at finding the mean of a grouped distribution. So back in lesson 10.1, we looked at grouped data and finding midpoints and such. And so we are going to find the midpoint here. So to find the midpoint, there's 2 ways we can do that. We need to have the midpoint to find the mean of the group distribution. So to find the midpoint of a class, you're going to add the lower and upper boundary and divide by 2. So for instance, on example 7, we have already grouped the data into classes of 0 to 4, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, and so forth. And so we are going to, I'm going to add 0 and 4 and divide by 2. And so the midpoint is going to be 2. And then the next one, I'm going to add 5 plus 9 and divide by 2. So that's 14 divided by 2 is 7. Now we can see that the width between the classes is 5. And so the width between the midpoints should also be 5. So that makes it a little easier to be able to move to the next one. So it should be 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 5 is 12, plus 5 is 17, 22, and 27. And then we're going to go ahead and get the frequencies. So we're going to count up how many of each of these numbers are in each class. So there are 3 in this first class, 7 in the next, 9 in the next, 3, 2, and 0. So to find the midpoint, we are going to multiply the midpoint, or to find the mean of the data, we're going to multiply the midpoint times the frequency and put it in this column. And that's what we describe up here, the mean of a distribution in which X represents the midpoints, F denotes the frequencies. You're going to add the X times the F and divide by N. So if we multiply here, we get 2 times 3 is 6. 7 times 7 is 49, 108, 51, 44, and 0. And down below, you're going to, I'll work this out down here in part C. So I'm going to add these up down here. So the sum of the X's times the F's is going to be 258. Divided by the total frequency. The total frequencies, if we add up the total frequencies, that means the total number of tax returns that they looked at, there were 24. So we're going to divide by 24, and we get 10.75. Okay. If we want to find the mode, we're finding the observation that occurred the most. And it looks like, let's see, we've got 8, 8, and 8. And 12 also occurs 3 times. And then we also have 14, 14, and 14 also occurs 3 times. So it looks like 8, 12, and 14 each have 3 observations. And then the median, if you were to put these data into the raw data into Desmos, you could type median of that column and you would find out that it's 11. I am going to show you how to do a weighted mean in Desmos. So we're going to go to Desmos and put our midpoints into an X column and the frequencies into a Y column. And then we're going to show you how to do this. And I'm following the instructions up here. Once I get them into X and into Y, this should be Y, Y1. So X and Y, then I'm going to total up the X and Y being multiplied, the products, just like we did up here, X times the frequency. And then we're going to divide by the total in the Y1. So that would be the count or the total frequencies. So I'm going to show you. Here they are. So here are my midpoints in X4, and then my frequencies I'm putting in Y. And 0, and then I don't have any in this column here. And then I'm going to say total of X4 star Y4 divided by the total of Y4. And that gives me a weighted or grouped mean of 10.75, just what we calculated by hand. And I will place this Desmos link in Canvas as well for you to be able to follow along. Catch me back for the second video, and we're going to finish the lesson with examples 8 through 11. So this is where we typed our total of x4 times y4 divided by the total of y4. And that's our grouped mean at 10.75. So catch me back for the last part of the lesson are just examples of everything that we've done today.